So May of 2026 saw the release of Let Nature Take Its Course, completing the History Book EP. And I guess there begs the question, what has releasing an EP done for my musical journey? And then I guess on that front, it's interesting that actually, as I put my camera on and sit here talking to you right now, the thing I most want to talk to you about is live gigs. So this weekend just gone, I played a theatre show. I got to play at the Stables Theatre in Hastings. And it was something that really did come out of the blue. Basically, John Nichols, who is a producer that I worked with on my songs One and the Same and Those Simple Moments, he sent me a message over Facebook telling me that a local performer named Danny Lou Carr is playing at the Stables Theatre and was looking for a support act, like a singer-songwriter, to play a few songs before her set. So I immediately said yes. It's like, this is amazing. And I won't lie, I immediately thought, because I always bring my camera with me to gigs, it'd be great to have footage of me on like a proper stage in a theatre. Like, that would just look so legit, especially on the short form content. And the gig, by the way, was really fun. It was influenced a little bit as well by a gig I played a couple of weeks previously in Southend. My first time in Southend, first time in Essex, to be honest with you, at the Fickle Pickle Club. Again, another, like, it's not just a pub venue, it's a dedicated music venue, a small club with a proper stage. That had some really cool lighting as well. Again, looks really good for the socials. Plus, both of those gigs, you've got the really good sound system and you've got a dedicated sound engineer. And I'll be honest with you, I think those things elevated my performance. Now, one thing I will say is when I watched back my footage of the Fickle Pickle Club, some of the songs I think I played a little bit fast. That's a kind of typical thing that amateur musicians do. They kind of race through the songs really quickly. And it's just because of, it can be because of nerves. I think it's also because of excitement. And I think in terms of the Fickle Pickle Club, it was to do with excitement and just the adrenaline and wanting to play, you know. With the Stables Theatre, I think I gave a much more disciplined performance. And when that happens, I think you do come across a lot more confident. And I think that is how I came across as I watched back the footage. I was really proud of it. Coming up, I've still got gigs at the Forum in Tunbridge Wells and the Rossi Bar in Brighton. Both of those I'm really looking forward to for different reasons. Like, the Forum is a venue that I know, I have been there before, and it's a small venue, but again, it is a dedicated music venue. It's a really important space, I would say, because they have this banner outside the venue, and it actually showcases some of the, like, legit big bands that have played there, presumably early on in their career. So, like, Muse, for example, have played there, Wolf Alice and Stereophonics. So that's really, really cool. And it's cool knowing that I'm going to be in this space that at one point was inhabited with some of these bands that went on to do amazing things. The Rossi Bar, I have no idea. Like, I've never been there before. Like, I know Brighton fairly well. I know some of the venues in Brighton, mainly the bigger ones because of, like, you know, gigs that I've been to. But as far as I'm aware, it's like a basement and it will be a kind of dedicated space. But the thing I'm really looking forward to about that gig is meeting the Hangleton Five, who are the headliners and who have invited me to this gig. And, you know, referencing relationship building, you know, I told you the story in last month's video, but again, I think it's a sign of just the rich connections that I'm building. So, like, on one level, I had this band named The Harbours invite me on the guest list for a gig to watch them. I promise you this isn't me trying to flex, but, like, a couple of weeks later, the band The Lottery Winners invited me on the guest list to go watch them at a gig, initially in London, but they were actually playing the White Rock Theatre in Hastings, so I politely asked if I could go there. They even let me bring a friend along, like, free, and the gig was amazing. I really enjoyed it. But then, like I said, like, the Hangleton Five are legitimately inviting me to support them on a show, which is great, and I look forward to meeting them as well as watching them play. The forum is a little bit different because it was this thing that I applied for, a stable showcase. And as far as I'm aware, I haven't actually sold any tickets for it yet. So I will be ramping up the promotion on that one. But I think with that one, it's because I know the venue and I know its kind of rich history and, you know, its place kind of in as a music venue, I suppose. And the fact that it has been a stepping stone for some major bands. That's not to say that I'm expecting my career, if you like, to go in the same direction. But still, I think it's heartening to be able to play in a space like that. Likewise, a photographer reached out to me on Instagram asking if I would like some photos taken of me. They're not asking for much in terms of a fee. And again, there's a legitimacy there. Being able to get hopefully some really good photos of me on this stage at this legit music venue. All of these things are good things that are going to help me establish myself as a legitimate music artist. And, you know, I'm talking about the EP, right? And I guess I should address the numbers, right? Because I think I spoke about in the first video, you know, will we see a cumulative effect where these songs build on each other, or will it be more of a diminishing returns? Definitely I've seen, you know, Spirit London was a song that everyone was looking forward to. I definitely get that sense. What was it? It got, I think was it 500 in the first week? It definitely has hit the 1,000 streams barrier, which is good. The other four haven't done that. Birmingham Bin Strike did all right. I mean, relatively speaking, the content I remember did really well. But then obviously with Sycamore Gap, we had the first flop, if you like. Irish Famine got a lot of discourse around it. But again, the streams weren't that much better. And with Let Nature Take Its Course, I checked the numbers earlier and it's on like 140 Spotify streams. Would you think that's taken about 3 or 4 weeks to get there? It's not really amazing. I know that I really like the song. In fact, one thing I do want to mention in regards to that song is in last week's video where I spoke about the making of the song and writing it, I sing a high G note on the chorus. And, you know, there was one person on Instagram that was like, oh, you're straining your voice. And I get it. That note is high in my range. But I'll tell you right now, I played that song at the Stables Theatre. And I won't go as far as to say it sounded powerful, you know, like a Freddie Mercury vocal. But what I will say is I was really impressed with it. Like, I think in the making of video, I referenced this idea of training yourself like an athlete. And I think I am successfully doing that. Like, there was something so assured about that performance. And it sounded good to me. Like, yeah, okay, it's a high note and it took a lot of welly. But, again, it sounded legit. It sounded good. And it's, again, heartening that this isn't me, you know, I don't want to go back to old habits where I'm trying to write a big Bon Jovi or a big Shinedown style chorus. Obviously, I have to stay within my range. But at the same time, it's knowing that when I'm on that stage and the adrenaline kicks in, I can do some pretty amazing stuff. And, you know, obviously, there's limits to that and there's ways of going about it. You know, I can't just give myself a free rein. But also understanding that, yeah, I can push myself a little bit. And, you know, I don't want to put myself in too much of a box when I'm writing. So that is really heartening and that, you know, feels really good. I'm going to check my notes. Indeed, I've been talking a lot about relationships, and actually there's one more negative thing that I do want to address. Now, in the video talking about March, I very openly talked about underground sound and that was a relationship that I'm glad I managed to get out of because it didn't look like it was going to be a very good one. I'm not going to name names, okay? I'm not going to get too specific. But what I will say is that I had a lot of gigs lined up for June. And one at a venue named Heist ultimately isn't happening. And it has bothered me, actually. So that one, it's a local gig. It would have been a essentially like a paid pub gig. I was going to do 2 sets. It was going to be like an evening with Vincent Turner. The first few gigs that happened at that venue, the turnout wasn't very good. And clearly they decided it's not worth doing the music. So I was obviously one of the artists affected by that. But what has bothered me is the promoter hasn't even tried to give me an alternate date to try and like make up for it in any way. I even suggested, because I know there's this new venue that they've got. But no, I've heard silence, frankly. And it's not just on a professional level, it being a local gig. This is someone that I thought I was really developing a friendship with. I spoke to a friend, like someone completely outside of music, about this last week. And he summed up what I said to him really, really well. He basically said, this guy hasn't reciprocated the friendship that you've put in. Because I really thought something special was blossoming here. And maybe here there's a lesson about the whole, don't mix business with pleasure. Like your work colleagues aren't your friends. It does bother me a little bit. And I don't think it's petty for me to say that I should put my energies elsewhere. I've not just tried to prove myself in a musical sense and as an artist, but also as a friend, as just someone that's cool to hang out with. And it feels a shame that that energy that I've put in seems to have gone to waste. And so I think it is reasonable for me to think, okay, now I'm better off taking that energy and putting it elsewhere. When the gig first got cancelled, there was a kind of pragmatic reaction to it. It's like, okay, life goes on. Then about a week or so later, I just found like it kept like revolving in my head. Like I just kept thinking about it. And I started getting quite angry and quite annoyed about it. Like it was really starting to get to me. And then I think when I had this conversation with my friend and he said that thing to me, he's not reciprocating the friendship you put in. That was kind of the bit where it's clicked. And now, of course, I am starting to move on from that. And I don't know what to do about it because I don't want to be like petulant about it. But like I said, I stand by the thing that I should put my energies elsewhere. I need to support the people who are also going to support me. Interestingly, Hotvox, the promoter in London that I've been working with, that, I do have a professional relationship with, my gig at the Lucky Pig has been cancelled, right? And hilariously, this is because of the football. England are playing Ghana on that same night. But the thing is, right, I had the phone call, they explained the situation, and immediately they said, okay, here's another date for you. There was no ifs or buts, I didn't have to persuade them, they just came out and said it. Like, that to me is the right course of action, and I spoke before about, Hotvox is a business, and they expect you to sell tickets, and all that, side of it. But they also care about relationships, and for me, like, this company are doing it the right way. Now, obviously, I don't want to compare, like, this established company that have been doing it for a long time, that are based in London, with, like, this essentially random guy who also has a day job and, is doing this on a more amateur level. But still, I think there are lessons to be learned there from all sides, really. And, like I said, I guess for me, the Hotvox thing kind of confirmed that I am somewhat justified in looking at this situation with the Heist gig, with the promoter, and being like, you know what? Maybe it's one of those things that I'll start putting my energy back in that when I feel, I'm being given something back. One final thing to mention, I don't know if it was recklessly or what, but long story short, I've broke my external hard drive. And the reason why I bring this up is because it had all of my social media stuff on it. All of my live footage, which is a bummer, like the first time I played Spirit of London live, things like that. Thankfully, there's been other bits that I've still had on my phone or that have been on my, odd bits on my laptop. I've lost a lot of stuff, but thankfully there's enough stuff that is salvageable. So in a way, I think there's going to be a little bit of a refresh or a restart with the content side of things, because some of the processes that I have managed to set up, I now can't do because I physically can't access those files. But thankfully, like for example, a lot of the footage that I took of playing all these venues and playing these gigs, I've still got Tunbridge Wells and Brighton coming up. I will eventually be back in London. I can get new footage. And, you know, those style of videos that I've been making, well, again, it's that thing of legitimacy. I'm quite liking now having these videos where it's like you've got the song Spirit of London playing, and there's footage of me like getting the train or walking through the underground or turning up at the venue, little selfie shots. I'm like, oh, look at me. And it's like panning round and you can see the crowd. How well those videos are doing is kind of debatable, but I'm kind of in a place right now where those videos are quite easy to make and I'm enjoying it, and hopefully there is something there that's threading through. I guess I'm at this place where I can't just point at some numbers and be like, oh, look how well I'm doing. The EP's been a little bit disappointing on that front, but there's something admittedly more intangible, but I think more meaningful, which is the relationships that I'm building. And yes, there has been good and bad. There have been positives and negatives. But broadly speaking, I think things are moving in a really strong direction. And I think there are strong relationships being made. I think this is a testament to my attitude and my personality. And so, regardless of the vanity metrics, if you like, I think there's something more meaningful going on here that I can be proud of. And I think right now, hopefully, right, I am building a solid foundation. And perhaps that's a really good place to end the video. These videos are getting longer and longer. I'm looking at the timestamp. Maybe I need to do them more than once a month. And, you know, now the EP's out, what is going to be the future YouTube content? So you can look forward to me working that out. I very much hope to see you again in another video.